AITA for insisting on living with my dad to attend a better school. I'm 15 male, living with my mom since she and my dad divorced. My dad just got married to a woman with two sons 13 and 8 years old, and they all moved into her house. Where I'm currently living with my mom isn't great, especially compared to where my dad lives now. Even the schools there are much better. My school doesn't send students to T20 while this other school sends students to T20, so it is a huge difference. I talked to my mom about it, and she thought it might be a good idea for me to live with my dad for the sake of the better school. So I brought up the idea to my dad. He told me he needed to think about it and would get back to me. After a few days, he told me it wasn't possible. Naturally, I asked him why, and he explained that their house only has 3 bedrooms, theirs and one for each of his sons. He said this is a new phase in their lives and they need time to adjust to living together. He also mentioned that my stepbrothers and I haven't spent much time together, so there's a chance of conflicts arising. He thinks I should get to know my stepbrothers better before making a big change that could disrupt the family dynamics. I didn't agree with his answer, though. I told him I'd be totally fine sharing a room with my 13-year-old stepbrother, and we've never had any issues when we've hung out. I also pointed out that saying no to this opportunity could seriously affect my college plans, given that the school in that area is much better. I explained that I spend a lot of time at school studying or in EC activities, so I won't impact a lot in family dynamics. I'm very obedient and I'll do all chores that they need at the house. I'll spend the weekends at my mom's house, but he stuck to his decision. I really want to move in, so I reached out to my grandparents and uncles to talk to my dad. They had a chat with him, and he called me afterward, pretty angry. He said I should have accepted his first answer and now the whole family is against him, thinking he's not acting correctly. AITA. Update 1. Well, I guess any chance of me studying near my stepmom's house is over. A few days ago, I messaged my dad asking what time he'd pick me up on Friday to spend the weekend at their place. He didn't respond, so I asked again and he said he wouldn't be picking me up, that I wouldn't be spending the weekend there. I asked why, and he said it's not his weekend, it's the next one. I was really pissed off by this, because he never used to use the weekend as his or not excuse. Before he got married, we spent practically every weekend together. To me, this showed that he truly chose his new family over me. He knew I was already upset about the school situation, and he did this to show that I'm not welcome there. I told him that it's okay for him to choose his new family, but he didn't need to pick me up anymore, that he could just forget I exist and I'd do the same. I logged into Instagram, which I don't use, to block him, and I saw a picture of him at an amusement park with my stepbrothers, and he had written, "Me and my boys." He didn't even invite me to go with them. I have no idea when that was. He truly excluded me from his life. I got even more furious and sent him a message telling him to enjoy having 2 sons now instead of just one, and that I wanted him to go F himself. My dad called me multiple times. I answered once and he started scolding me, saying I'm acting like a child, and I hung up on him and didn't pick up again. He sent several messages saying he wants to talk to me. I was really naive in this whole situation. He replaced me months ago. I couldn't bike to school because of the knee surgeries I had. And I just realized now that he never once took me to school. It was always my grandparents or my mom. Lately, I've seen him very little and I thought it was because of the surgeries and recovery. But apparently, he only had space for every other weekend, whereas before his new family, he was always available for me. My mom is upset with me too. She says I lost my reason, that I have to talk to my dad, that I'm not behaving appropriately. As far as I'm concerned, I'll never talk to my dad again. Now I'm gonna spend the night locked up in my room because if I step out, my mom's gonna try to force me to talk to him. I don't know if I'm doing right or wrong, but right now I'm just really angry and sad. I never thought my dad could replace me like this. I thought he truly cared about me. Edit. People are saying that my mom is taking my dad's side. Nope, she doesn't want me to be in a fight with my dad. She's saying that we need to talk, listen to each other. I guess no mom wants her kid to be in a fight with their dad, but I don't want to talk to my dad tonight. He sent a lot of messages last night. He's saying that we need to talk in person, that I'm misunderstanding everything. He came over early this morning, but I told my mom I didn't want to talk to him and locked myself in my room. He wants to come tonight to talk. Update 2. Sorry for the delay in updating you all. I couldn't come here earlier due to being grounded, and you'll understand why. I talked to my dad, but I told him I'd only talk if my mom was there too. The 3 of us sat down at the table. My mom said I'd be the first to speak, but when I started talking, she said it wasn't what I should say and that I should apologize first. So, I apologized to my dad for swearing at him. Then, right after, my mom said I'm grounded for 2 weeks for swearing at my dad, stating that nothing justifies swearing at your own father. It's my first time being grounded in my life. Then, it was my dad's turn to talk. He said I'm being immature and unfair. He explained that he has other people in his life who are important now, so he can't give me the same attention as before. I tried to talk, and my mom told me to listen quietly and that I'd have my chance to speak later. He mentioned that I act like everything has to be according to my will and circled back to the school situation. He told my mom that I talked to my grandparents and uncles, and my mom got upset about that, adding another week to my grounding. And when I tried to complain, she said she was disappointed in me for not understanding that I should respect my parents' decisions. So I figured it would be better not to argue further, as it would extend my grounding. So, I'm grounded for 3 weeks now, both for swearing at my dad and not respecting his decision. Finally, he said he's always done everything to be present in my life and give me the best he can. He said he feels unjustly treated after years of dedication, and I treat him like he's done nothing for me. I have to agree that he was very present and dedicated until recently, but I can't feel that anymore. When I started talking, my mom said if my tone got aggressive, the conversation would end, as it's meant to be a friendly discussion, not a fight. I tried to stay as calm as possible so that the conversation wouldn't end before I could express what I was thinking. I said I understood that there are more people I need to share my dad's attention with now. However, these people are always with him since they lived together, and the little time I'd have with him would only be on weekends. I mentioned that for the first time. He brought up the legal aspect that I'm only entitled to be with him every other weekend. I said this showed that he deliberately chose to decrease the time we spend together. I also said that having new people around doesn't mean he can forget about my feelings or me. I told him that the photo he posted at the amusement park with the caption "Me and my boys" hurt me deeply. My mom hadn't seen the photo, so I showed it to her, and she was upset with my dad too. I said I understood the difficulty of me moving to my stepmom's house, but I felt extremely unjustly treated by the arguments presented. It was as if my stepbrother's difficulty sharing a room with me was just as important as a good educational opportunity for me. I said he should be concerned about my future, but it seems like the only opinions that matter are those of his new kids. He said I was misinterpreting things, but that he'd be more careful about posting pictures and captions that could hurt me. About the weekend issue, he said we're all still adjusting, and indeed, he'd like me to be able to come over every weekend like it used to be. But now he needs more predictability since more people are involved. I mentioned again that he was putting others' desires ahead of mine and that my wishes were never a priority compared to theirs. This showed me that he had a preference. He fell silent for a moment and then said he'd fix this situation. I'll always be welcome to visit and stay where he lives. He also said he wouldn't bring up the every other weekend visitation arrangement again. He said the school issue is more complicated, but that he's still looking into a solution. He again said I need to understand that circumstances change, and I'm still his priority, but now there are more people involved. He mentioned he knows it's not easy for a 15 years old, but I'm smart enough to know he's speaking the truth. He invited me to spend the weekend with him, but I declined, saying I don't feel welcome at this moment. He said he loves me and that if I ever doubt that at any point, I can call him. So, that's where we are. We're at a bit of an impasse. He's been sending me several messages every day to show he's there for me. I feel like I'm being a bit unfair to him. On the other hand, I feel like his new family doesn't want me around. I don't know where this will lead, but I appreciate the support from those who wrote in the last posts. As I mentioned, I'm grounded right now, so I don't have much time to respond. I just wanted to say that I think you guys are being a bit hard on my dad and my mom. My mom didn't punish me when I slammed the door in her face and locked myself in my room in the middle of the week. She knew I could get upset, like I did during the week, and the conversation wouldn't lead anywhere, as is normal with us teenagers. She stood by me, for example, in the situation with the photo. So cut them some slack. She's trying to maintain a balance between supporting me and exercising parental control. Of course, I don't like to be grounded and don't agree totally, but she has her points. I'm still sad about the situation with my dad, but I see that part of the conversation was positive. He told me to forget about the every other weekend thing and that I can go whenever I want. He's been sending me messages. Even my 13-year-old stepbrother messaged me inviting me over. So I can see that he's making an effort, but I didn't want to go over there this week. That's why I said I'm in a bit of a dilemma. At the same time, I don't feel comfortable going to his house, but I've seen an effort from him in these last few days after the conversation. And if I don't go, I'll never build a relationship and feel more at ease. Update 3. My mom already lifted my punishment. I didn't stay grounded for that entire time. I actually got closer to her during those days of punishment, which was good because we talked a lot. My dad continues to message me every day. He's been making an effort to ensure I don't feel rejected. Last weekend, I went to my stepmom's house, and it was interesting because I think I finally understood that my dad was right. I was being spoiled and trying to force my move there. I was there on Saturday afternoon, and a neighbor kid came to talk to my stepbrother, and I overheard part of the conversation. The neighbor asked if he could sleep over, and my stepbrother said no because I was there. I felt really bad about that. It was probably the first time I understood that my presence there would impact a lot for everyone in the house, and I was being really selfish by not putting myself in their shoes and understanding this. My stepmom married my dad with certain expectations for their life, and suddenly, I unilaterally wanted to change that life. And they probably can't afford a bigger house in the same neighborhood to accommodate me. Of course, if something happened to my mom, they'd take me into their home. But forcing a situation that they likely discussed before getting married was wrong and selfish. I think I was too focused on the ends justifying the means. I value my education a lot, so I was trying to force a situation that would, at the very least, be unpleasant. I was also selfish when I demanded that my dad include me in everything. Like in the photo at the amusement park. I still don't like what he wrote, but he'll have to have moments alone with my stepbrothers. Anyway, that's it. I don't think there will be any more updates after this. I've learned my lesson that I need to listen to others more, put myself in their shoes, and control my reactions, which can be unfair. So, I've discovered that ITAH in this story. Again, thanks for the supportive messages. Update 4. I'm making this update after 3 months because my dad finally told me the real reason why he didn't let me move into his house. I believe this might be the last update I'll give, but I'll continue using my Reddit page as a diary and seek advice from you guys. A lot has happened in these 3 months since the last post, including my birthday this week. In summary, after the last update, I started feeling really uncomfortable going to my dad's house. Luckily, a friend of mine got a job where he works a few days a week, and I work on weekends in the same role. So, I haven't been to my dad's house frequently. During this time, my dad and I also had a disagreement because he wanted me to tutor my older stepbrother, but I didn't agree with that. I talked about it in this post. Anyway, on Thanksgiving, my dad wanted to travel with me to have some father-son time. The most important part of the trip was that we talked about everything. He initiated discussions on the conflicts we've had this year. He started by apologizing, saying he realizes he's been treating me like a child when, in reality, I'm almost an adult. I partly agreed with him because even though I'm almost 16, which means I'm basically 2 years away from being an adult, I still feel more like a child than an adult due to my lack of life experience. He said that since we argued about me moving to his house, we've drifted apart, and he wasn't completely honest with me about the move. He was willing to reveal everything now. He explained that he was initially taken aback by my request. He never thought I would want to live with him because I'm very attached to my mom. He had already told my stepmom before they got married that I wouldn't want to live with them, so it was a surprise for her too. He shared that he talked a lot with my stepmom about what to do. He told me a secret but asked me not to tell my stepmom or my stepbrothers. The main reason I didn't move there was that my older stepbrother didn't like my dad and had disciplinary issues at school in the last year. I think he probably didn't like me either, but my dad didn't want to say, and I didn't ask. That was also the reason why he has been trying to be very present in my stepbrothers' lives, since the marriage was recent, and my dad and my stepbrother were already having some issues since they were dating. My dad and my stepmom thought it would be really bad to force my stepbrother to accept me moving into his room. It even took a while to buy the bunk bed so that it wouldn't be too imposed on my stepbrother. He told me he didn't tell me earlier because he didn't want me to somehow get angry at my stepbrother. And my stepmom doesn't want others to know about the problems my stepbrother is having at school. He also mentioned the puberty issue, that it would be difficult for both me and my stepbrother to give up privacy. He also said that because of these school and relationship issues, he tried to make me help my stepbrother. My dad and my stepmom thought it was a good opportunity for us to bond, and for him to have an example of someone roughly the same age with responsibility and good behavior, but he admitted he probably asked me in the wrong way. I also expressed my feelings amid all this. I said I felt like they prioritized other things over my potential future, as if my future didn't matter to them. He said absolutely not, and that's why they talked a lot. He even consulted a private counselor, and the counselor said that being one of the top students in a weaker school could be enough for me to get into a good college. So, they concluded that my stepbrother needed more support. He apologized for not knowing how to help me with school, admitting he never thought about going to college himself. He said he knows nothing about applications. He almost cried at that point. The part about him asking me to teach my stepbrother didn't convince me much. However, overall, I was satisfied with our conversation. In any case, at this moment, I wouldn't want to move, especially since my stepmom is pregnant, and my school changed my counselor and seems to be making a greater effort to help me.